Meeting of Health and Community. I want to call on Karen to give the notice and summons of meeting.
Members, you're hereby summoned to attend the reconvened meeting of the Health and Community Committee, which will be a hybrid meeting conducted remotely via WebEx and physically in the Council Chamber, Guildhall, on Tuesday, the 23rd of January 2024 at 4 p.m. So, members, I'll just move on quickly to the attendance. So, Alderman Guy. Alderman McMorris. Here. Councillor Jason Barr.
Here, Karen, online.
Councillor Boggs.
Karen, online.
Councillor Donnelly.
Sure.
Councillor Devine.
Sure.
Councillor Sandra Duffy. Councillor Alex Duffy.
Sure.
Councillor Heaney.
Unsure.
Councillor Hutton.
Sure.
Councillor McDaid. Councillor Barr.
Yep.
And Councillor Tierney. There's an apology. Thank you, members.
I would like to remind everyone present at this meeting in the Guildhall or in attendance remotely that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. Due to your attendance at this meeting, you're consenting to being filmed and to the use and storage of those images for broadcasting or training purposes and for the purpose of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on while speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight a request to speak. A copy of the Council privacy notice may be found on Council website at www.derrystrabane.com. Is there any declarations of members' interests? Alderman McMorris.
Sorry, just declaring an interest. There's an item on our Waterside Share Village, which I'm a director of.
Thank you, Alderman McMorris. So there's no other declaration of interest. We'll move on. To Dave and sorry, Councillor Barr.
There's an agenda item on advice services. I'm a board member of Advice and.
Thank you, Councillor Barr. To Dave and Salamu Telecom. You're all very welcome. And we have a deputation from Dr. Sami Hassan, Chairman of the Northwest Islamic Association.
Thank you very much for inviting me here. Special thanks to Councillor Sandra Barr and Pauline for helping with this. Could we have the presentation on, please? Okay. If you go next slide, please. So I will just give some background here about the Muslim community in Derry, Londonderry, and Northwest Islamic Association, and the work that the association is doing here in the city. Next slide, please. So Northwest Islamic Association was started as charity organization in 2016. Were registered with Charity Commission, Northern Ireland. The work that we do is mainly focused on providing basic needs for the Muslim community here. The association, when we started, we didn't have any hub for the Muslim community, and we went to the property in Bennyburn Industrial Estate, and I think many of you might have visited us in some of the events that we organize. The center provides educational, social, charity, and religious activities for the Muslim community. Next slide, please. The association is managed by a chairman, which is myself, and committee members. All our activities is based on volunteering work. We don't have any paid staff. We plan and execute all our projects and activity on volunteer basis. Underpinning all our work is our dedication and commitment to good relations and diversity and inclusion. Next slide, please. This is a map for the world. Muslims is 25% of the world population. That's 1 in every 4. And here and there in London, it's a sample of the Muslims around the world. We have people from 25 countries. And normally people think Muslims are Middle East. That's not true. We're having Muslims here from Cuba, from Malaysia, from Singapore, from India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Middle East. All the Middle East and African countries are presented within our community. Number of Muslims in the city is probably doesn't exceed 1,000. It's probably close to that, and they are mainly they come to work mainly in the hospital. We have over 100 doctors from our community in the hospital. We have people who are working in the university, especially with the School of Medicine now. Students, lots of Muslim students are coming to the School of Medicine from all over the world now. We have engineers, people working in Seagate and other companies. We have people who have businesses. We have people who came here and were made welcome as asylums and refugees as well. They are all represented within our community and they attend our center. Next slide, please. The work that the association do is mainly in 3 dimensions. Internally, we work to support our community, to establish community cohesion, and to provide educational activities, celebrate our diversity, and provide organize cultural activities and provide religious arts as well for our community. Externally, since the start of the center in the city, we have been taking an open approach, building bridges with all the communities around us, facilitate the integration of the Muslim community in the city, and participating in interfaith dialogue with different faiths. The 3rd dimension is charity. And through charity, we basically create and facilitate opportunities for people to do good toward each other. And this charity work is what brings people from our community with people from the wider community to do good. And I'll give some examples for this as well. Next slide, please. Next slide. So just some pictures here of some of the works that we do, like internally, obviously, our youth is our priority. Activities here, family fun days and kids activities, celebrating our festivals and getting people together as well. Next slide, please. We have educational service on every Sunday. We have a Sunday school for kids where they come learn Arabic language and they learn the Islamic education as well, because they like this in the school curriculum. So we help to fill this gap, and we don't just teach them in the classroom, but we take them outside. And as you can see, they are here planting trees in the St. Columns Park House World Garden. Next slide, please. We do lots of activities as well for youth, and we work very closely with Youth Action and I, who provide a high level of support to us. Some photos from summer camps who have been running over the year. Next slide, please. And we really provide a safe space for people from all these different backgrounds to come together and have a bit of crack and socialize, get out of isolation, and especially when it comes to the asylums and refugees. And you can see some of them enjoying themselves playing table tennis here. Because it is important for them to find a safe space to socialize and connect. Next slide, please. Again, here, this is a youth club that we started last year for young people to come, get them out of the state, get them out away from screens, come and have good time. And it's directed mainly as well for the young asylum seekers, unaccompanied underage asylum seekers who come here. And we recently started delivering English classes to them and also some training courses to help them to get to work after they get their documents. Next slide, please. Food, obviously, is a big thing, part of our culture, and whenever we have any activity, like it's international cuisine. Next slide, please. Yeah, again, like taking them out and about in trips. A couple of weeks ago in W5, a couple of months ago in the Oma Park. So we take them out in trips as well, and especially kids from disadvantaged families of asylums and refugees. Next slide. Next slide, please. So externally, as I said, like we took open approach since the start of the center. With the opening of the center, we have open days in our center every year. Some of you have attended, and if you haven't, you are welcome. Next open day. So it normally goes as your Muslim neighbors invite you for tea and tour, and we invite people to come and see some or engage in some of the cultural activities like henna, calligraphy, get to try some ethnic food from all over the world, and get to meet Muslims for first time. Ask questions and remove barriers and remove the fear that the media put in people's heart toward Muslims. And I have to say that this has been very successful. Last year, we had more than 200 people on our open day. Next slide, please. Again, like interfaith dialogue, we have here David Latimer and Bishop McCorn, like we invited them in our center, and this is another photo from our Sister Together event and Community Relations Week last September. Next slide. We do lots of outreach activities to schools, and schools come to our center as well. And main idea is to dispel the myth about Muslims, and also to help with education, because those kids normally study about Islam in the Year 10 curriculum. Next slide. Many community groups will come to us from all sides of the city. We have Lincoln Court women's group visiting our center a couple of months ago, and we have the church trust sending groups to us as well. So we work with many community groups in the city. Next slide. Next slide. The third dimension is charity, and as you say, charity start at home. So since we started, we have been working closely with the Foil Food Bank, raising fund for the Foil Food Bank, especially during the month of Ramadan. Sometimes this fundraising is done by our youth themselves, selling bonds in the schools or collecting donations. And in the photo in the bottom right corner, you can see all those are Syrian refugees. They were backpacking in Sainsbury's to collect donations for the Foil Food Bank. Next slide, please. We do a fasting challenge in Ramadan. Again, like local people do Ramadan for 1 day. They fast for 1 day and get people to sponsor them, and all fund goes for the same cause as the World Food Bank. Next slide. Over the last 6 years, we managed to raise around 11,000 pounds for the World Food Bank. Next slide. This is other examples of other charity fundraising that we did for the ambulance service during COVID time, or for some of the international causes that we work with big trustful organizations to deliver the money, like for Turkey and Syria earthquake and the Rohingya refugees and Syrian refugees in Greece as well. Next slide. So why does the work that our center do matter? First of all, as you can see, it brings people together, Muslim people with the wider community. Different people from the community will come to our events as well. It helps to change the narrative about Muslims and tackle Islamophobia. And really help to attract talent to the city. And if you move to the next slide, I can show you here some messages that we get from some doctors who are coming to work in the hospital, getting job offers, for example, in the cancer center or in other departments, asking about Islamic education facility, is a place to worship, is racism, is it a good place to come, is halal food, all these questions, and we encourage them and assure them and encourage them to come and join here in the city. Next slide. So how do we know that we make a difference? From the feedback. We get very positive feedback from all the groups that interact with us and work with us. As you see, one of the feedback here at the top says all of the participants felt more able to speak up against bias, stereotype, and misinformation about Muslim community. So, and this was from the woman group in Lincoln Court. Next slide, please. Challenges that we are facing, obviously, like with all the work that we are doing is based on voluntary work, and all the work that we are doing more or less based on self-funding. We are all based relying on donations for our members. We lack financial support for our essential activities. Last year, thanks to the council, we managed to get a bit of funding from the Good Relations office, so thanks for that. But we still need to keep this going to be able to support our community more. At the minute, the space that we have is reaching to the maximum capacity, so we are looking to expand or to find a bigger space, especially during COVID time. It proves that space need to be more accommodating. There's lots of asylums and refugees coming in the city, and obviously there are needs that needs to be fulfilled for them. We try our best to help within our capabilities and within our means, but they need more support, and we need your support so we can support them more. So this is basically the main challenges here that we have, but I think I went over the time, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Sami. Alderman McMorris.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you for your brilliant presentation. Myself and colleagues had the privilege of meeting you and your organisation. And I'd just like to put in record our thanks for the contribution you make to our communities. And I suppose one of the things that was highlighted, and you've just highlighted it again, was the fact that you're self-funded. It is very difficult to find funding in order to roll out programmes within your own community, and especially since the fact that you're trying to do external stuff, which is integrating into our communities as well as your own. So it's just maybe reaching out maybe to council to see if maybe the council could work better with you and kind of earmarkies towards maybe potential funding that could be out there and suppose give you that wee bit of uplift so that they're, you know, maximising your opportunities to access funding out there. And suppose we're going down the route possibly of consensual kind of grant making and stuff. So it might be an idea that maybe you touch base with the, you know, the neighbourhood partnership within the area that you are based in at the minute. And maybe, you know, because I always think, you know, I sit on the water side because I represent the water side, and it's always good that when we have these kind of committees and boards that, you know, everybody's represented there, you know, and nobody knows exactly the, you know, the difficulties you're facing or what your aspirations or your goals is or what it is that you're likely to do within your communities. So maybe that would be a point of contact that you could probably, maybe some of the other councillors that is in and around the Pennyburn area might earmark you to whoever who's responsible in that area. And I just urge council and ourselves to just work and do as much as we can to help you do whatever it is that you want to do. And just, again, I want to thank you for the work and the contribution that you've put into our society, especially within the medical profession. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alderman McMorris. Councillor Sandra Duffy.
Cormagat, Gary, and thank you very much, Sammy, for coming in and for the presentation. And I'm glad to see that you have brought so many volunteers with you today just to demonstrate a lot of the work that goes on. And I think as Derry City and Strabane District Council moves towards being a more multicultural society, I think that the work that you do out within the communities is absolutely second to none. It reminds me of a quote from Martin McGuinness, who I know was very supportive of yourself when you were setting up the hub initially. And one of his comments was, let's shrink them and build us. And that is just about building a more inclusive, multicultural society for us all to live in and for us all to feel welcome in. And I think that that's a lot of the work that you yourself and the Islamic Association have been involved in. And I think around breaking down those barriers, and I have been very lucky that I have had the opportunity to visit the hub. I have also had a great opportunity to have yourself and some of your colleagues come into the Guildhall for a presentation, and you were able to go through a lot of the work that you are involved in. And I have to say, I was educated in the work that you're involved in. I was educated in your religion, and I was educated in the huge diverse people from right across the globe that you have within the association. And that's why I thought that it was very important that you do come to the council and that everybody becomes very aware of the work that you are involved in, because I think we all should be involved in that work, and we all should be supportive of what's going on. I know in terms of, you've highlighted a number of challenges there. And I suppose in terms of the hub that you have is fantastic. It's a beautiful facility, and the work that you do within it is great. But you do need to look at where more appropriate premises might be for yourselves, because I know even the day that I was down there, it was packed, which was fantastic. But you need
to have.
you need the space to be able to do all the things that you want to do, particularly with some of the children and young people that you have coming through the services. They need those spaces in terms of youth services. So what can we do to work with you to help you achieve your goals in terms of ensuring that you have adequate space to do the activities that you want to do? Nairi has touched on the fundraising. We know within council you have been able to access some grant aid, but there's other opportunities out there in terms of funding that might be able to be available to yourselves to help with some of the activities that you have going on. And we do have a lot of really good, talented people within council whose job is to look at funding opportunities and to match people and projects with those funding opportunities. So I do think it would be really good and important if we can sort of glue that together so that we can do a bit of work on that to make sure that you are getting the adequate funding. I mean, like you talk about some of your challenges there being to provide critical support to refugees and asylum seekers, and that's absolutely vital at this time. And we can see what's going on throughout the world, and we can see the displacement of people, and that can't be left to you alone to do that. So that is the responsibility of us all. So anything that we should be doing or can be doing to support you with what you're doing. And I want to ask a question because I know the day that I was down, I spoke to two young lads and they were having difficulties going through the Home Office in terms of their asylum status. Can you just inform the room in terms of some of the difficulties that people are having getting through that asylum process and how you are supporting them? Because I know that it's so difficult. My heart actually went out to those two young fellas and wanted to do everything that I could, but you were coming up against brick walls. So if there's anything that we should be doing, using political influence as well around some of that stuff. Again, Sammy, the work that you do, I mean, the day that I had in the Guildhall here and the conversations that I was having with people and the value that they bring to our city and district is unreal. The talent, the skills, our medical professionals, all those things. We have to be very welcoming in terms of some of the talent that we're getting into our city and district. So anything that we can be doing to assist you in what you're doing. So probably around the hub, how we can help you find better and bigger premises, how we can work with you around your fundraising, and then maybe just something around the challenges that you're facing with the Home Office. But again, Samar, thank you to you and everyone for the work that you're doing and the barriers that you're breaking down. And you did mention food in your presentation. I always love going because the food is something special. So thank you again for coming today.
Thanks a lot, Sandra. Well, if you, some of you didn't try our food before, probably need to come next event.
Councillor Harkin, online.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, thank you, Chair. And Sammy, it's great to see you in the chamber today. And thanks for your excellent presentation. Sorry, I'm not able to be there today. But look, I think that, you know, the message I would like to come from the council is that we fully appreciate the work that you do, and that all the members of the Northwest Islamic Association do, because you really do enrich our society, and that is good for the people of Derry and Strabane district. It's good for our council. And I think, you know, you've just kind of highlighted through your presentation how much you do, and it really is incredible, you know, from the educational work that you do. And I'm talking about educating us about, you know, Islam, about the you know, the wide ranging cultures that are represented at the association. Anytime I've been down at the centre, I've learned a lot, and you know, you do a lot to kind of break down the myths, as you said, about Muslims, about Islam, and that's actually brilliant, and it's very, very important. But you do much more. You've talked about the work you do, you know, supporting asylum seekers and migrants here, and that's vital work right now. But also your you know, the fundraising that you do, you know, the money that you raise for Foyle Food Bank, all the emergency appeals that you have been part of. You know, I do know from that you had a brilliant fund drive for medical aid for Palestine as well, that raised a lot of money, and that is something that, you know, will be you know, something very close to many of your members in terms of what's happening there, but also that's shared with people right across this city and district as well. So I fully commend your efforts there in terms of being at the centre of that. I know as well the social justice work that you do, and it's absolutely it's very, very important. All that community work as well, and this is really about the contribution that you're making to creating a city, creating a society, creating the fabric of our communities. Yous are very much at the center of it, and it is good that yous are developing and expanding. So look, I want to only have warm words for yourself and for the work yous are doing and for all your members. And that's just as a centre. And then there's the contribution that your members make in terms of what they do day in, day out, whether it's part of our health service, which is critical, or something else. And I hope that is understood, because look, it breaks my heart and it breaks other people's hearts, I'm sure, to hear you say about having to combat the fears that people have about Muslims and Islam here in Derry, and I'm sure more broadly, and the role of the media. That is, and I think that is something that should worry all of us. Do you know what I mean? Because too many people, or some people, are trying to be divisive. And I think that educational work's very good. I suppose one question would be, what else can the council do to assist you in kind of challenging them myths? Because I think that's very, very important, because we want people to feel like they're full residents of our district, that they belong here, that they're welcomed here, and that people shouldn't be going to work and school, or be at their homes, or be at the association centre or the hub, and have any worries or fears. So what can we do as councillors or council to assist you with that? And that's our responsibility, just as much as anybody else's, to work with that. And look, I think in terms of assisting you with funding, I think people are pointing in the direction of saying or suggestion that you have a meeting with council officers that can basically point you in the direction of here's some streams of funding that we think you should actually apply for. But again, Sammy, from People Before Profits perspective, thank you for coming in today and sharing the work of the association.
Thank you very much, Sean. Thank you.
Councillor Harkin, Councillor Barr.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Sammy, for coming. It's great to see you guys, and I'm delighted because I remember when you were setting up your organization, and the challenges that you are facing then seems to be still the challenges you're facing now. And as someone who have been heavily involved in the minority ethnic sector, I know, and I'm very aware of all the challenges, but I want to highlight the positives, because with the challenges, there's a lot of people which you have demonstrated through your presentation who are willing and very supportive. And I think it is testament that Derry has always been a place that welcomes everyone. Actually, we pride ourselves as a council that is very welcoming to people from different cultures and different religious backgrounds. The work that you do is contributing to the work of many in creating an inclusive society. So I just wanted to echo what everybody has said in the chamber, and to thank you for your work and for supporting the community that to thrive also, and also recognizing that while we have a lot of refugees and asylum seekers who come here, we have others who come to provide vital services for our community, contributing to the well-being of our society. And you've demonstrated from the emails that you're receiving from countries of people who are trying to come here to provide that service, wanting to see a Derry that is welcoming, and that's what we are all trying to do. In terms of funding, I think we can all appreciate how difficult it is, but where there is a will, there's always a way. And I'm sure our officers in council will support your organization in looking for funding. I do remember 2016 in particular, when you are looking for a bigger space. At that time, there's a lot of people. I think we have tripled numbers of people who are coming to this country now, and particularly this city, to seek sanctuary or to provide vital services from the university perspective, medical school to at Nagalvin Hospital. So your religious support that you provide, particularly for the Muslim community, is something that is required. And I look forward to a day where we will have a fully functioning mosque in Derry that the community will feel completely supported and welcomed. So thank you for your work.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barr. Really appreciate your words. And the services that we provide, as I said, it's not just religious services, it's social and educational, and the religious services is just one part of this. The hub that we have is helping to provide multi-purpose, many purposes for our community. I say it's safe space because people from our community want to come to somewhere to socialize and feel safe, you know. It's educational place. It's yes, the worship place is part of it because right to the right to express your religious rights is by law, you know. So we do use our place for the worship purposes as well, but it is a multi-purpose place that serves so many needs of our community, mainly having a safe space. Thank you.
Well, Councillor Barr, look, I'd just like to thank you for your presentation today. I have been down in the hub, and it's been maybe a while ago, so we'll probably need to do another visit. But unfortunately, you know, a lot of the conversation here was about breaking down myths and that fear and that. And I think that's very unfortunate, come from you know, a community or a country here that has had our own and continues to have our own share of intolerance through maybe religion or sectarianism. And unfortunately, it does seem to be that you know, incidents of Islamophobia or hate crimes seem to be on the rise. And I think we as public representatives, and it's good to see one voice here today across the chamber, you know, having a very positive message, and I think that's testament to what you and your community have offered here, and you're a valued, you know, part of the community. But there is issues within that, particularly from some people who have been resettled here, and the system hasn't looked after them. They've brought them in and they've just effectively abandoned them. And I've been dealing with some of that, as I've no doubt our elected reps have. So I think there's a long way to go. But I think, you know, that, as I said, it's unfortunate that you have to, you know, spend some of your time fighting this sort of misinformation and intolerance and falsehoods. And I think, you know, that, as I said, as elected representatives, that we have a duty. I think the work that you're doing, the hub, if that can be developed, as Councillor Duffy said, more appropriate and suitable premises. And I think it's about sustainability too. So hopefully you'll get that, you know, sustainability, that you can continue on with your activities and the good issues that you're doing. So just I'd like to thank you for your presentation today.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Folks, regards Chair business, the only person that has contacted me was Councillor Paul Gallagher. Councillor Gallagher, are you online?
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the space to bring us in. Chair, a number of months ago, I brought a motion into council, and it was with regards to Melbourne Arena and the possibility of the installation of floodlights. And within that motion, it was requesting that a report would come in around the costings of it, how much we've got secured, and other possible funding opportunities. And I was requesting to see if we could put a time frame of when that would come in, or looking to see when it would come in. Chair, much appreciated.
Barry, do you want to make a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Councillor Gallagher was actually with a capital working group last week of officers, and then there's one planned in the next period of weeks with members as well. So that was one of the agenda items, Paul, in terms of where the motion coming through, and that I'll get back to you in terms of a time scale, in terms of when we would have costings, updated costings. We did have some costings you'd be aware before. There were stage 2 design costings around when we previously had developed the full scheme for Melbourne Arena. So I'll get back to you directly on that, Paul, and there will be subsequent paper coming in around that on other capital projects. So I'll get that time scale back to you.
Thank you, Barry. I just have two items. I'll just be quick. One is, and it was dealt with in committee yesterday, but I think it's important that councillors and aldermen can give an opinion here too, or lend support to it if they so wish to. It's regarding the upcoming vote in Seagate about regarding to unionise the workforce. And again, I want to just pay tribute. It's a testament to Unite and the activists that they've got to this stage. They'll be having a vote this week. So I just want to wish them the luck, and hopefully this will culminate in a yes vote, which will lead to better terms and working conditions for employees. And again, just to reiterate yesterday that we hope that Seagate will, if it is a yes vote, that they will honour the democratic decision of the workforce. Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, just to comment on that, I seen that yesterday there was some sort of rally outside the Guildhall in support of the Unite workers within Seagate, or the Seagate workers who were going for unionisation. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend, but I am glad to have the opportunity today to pay tribute to Unite and the workers within Seagate who have been actively working on this for quite some time, and to wish them well in the vote this week. And I look forward to hearing the outcome, and I do hope it is a positive one. Unions are absolutely vital in any workforce to ensure that our rights are upheld. There are a lot of things that we wouldn't have without unionisation. So just to wish the workers in Seagate the very best over the coming days.
Councillor Duffy, Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Chair. And just to echo that as well, from the SLP's point of view, we completely support the workers' right. As a member of a union, I can say how important it is that you have your union, how helpful it is, and how much of a support it is. So good luck to the workers in Seagate. I really hope that it's a full yes. And like you say, Councillor Donnelly, that Seagate accept that and are accepted off the union in the workplace. Thank you.
Councillor McDade. Just last night, just an RB issue. Last night, I attended the premiere of a video by the Filia regarding Rathmore Warriors, Release Your Inner Warrior. And it's something that probably wouldn't be brought up a lot within council, but I have to say, coming out after watching that, I think it was an excellent film, and it highlights just a small gym in a working class housing estate in Craigan, but it also gives personal testimonies from both trainers and members of the gym, and how, how this, how it affects their mental health in a positive way, and affects their sort of, their general well-being. We had Sean McGill, who opened the gym, who very eloquently, puts things into perspective and the importance. We had a number of people who use it. We have Conal McBurty, who's been having a lot of success recently, and we've had just basically ordinary men and women who have taken up kickboxing and in the gym, and they have given a testimony of how it has affected their lives in a positive way. So I think it's important to highlight that too, and to pay tribute, because no doubt there's lots of sporting clubs out there, and the work that they're doing is not being seen by the general public. So I have to say, if you haven't got a chance to watch the film, it's only a very short film, I think you should take the opportunity and watch it. Thank you. Councillor Duffy. Apologies. Councillor Boggs.
Gurma, Chair, and it's just in relation to the item or the business that Councillor Gallagher had raised. Just through yourself, if I could ask Barry, I know I've been in contact with him, and I held a meeting recently with Science West ladies who have a particular interest in the lighting at the Melbourne Arena site. So if we could just ask if there's an update outside of committee, that it's even shared with all sparing councillors at least, just so that everybody is aware of information that's maybe not come before committee, just in terms of an update. Gurma.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Boggs. Item number 7 is matters arising from the open minutes of the Health and Community Committee held on Thursday, 7th of December 2023, pages 33 to 48. Any matters arising? Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, just want to ask a question on HC 248/23, the Move More programme. Barry, just is there any update on word from Macmillan, or is there any word on that item?
Members, it's just to say we've been corresponding with both the Public Health Agency and the Trust in relation to Macmillan. Macmillan are reviewing their programme, and I think our most latest update of yesterday afternoon is that without additional resources and a regional outcome in terms of the review of the cancer strategy, there's no additional investment available at this particular point in time. What we are likely to expect, in line with the other 11 councils, is a smaller funding contribution, which is largely towards training and development over a 3-year period, but it is quite small. So the suggestion is we go back as individual councils to our local representatives of PHA and the Trust to see if there are any localised opportunities to reshape programmes. So that's something that Barry's team will take on board over the next couple of weeks. And by the time we, I suppose, get to our February committee, we would hope maybe to have a clarity on whether that presents an opportunity or not. Thank you.
Could I just say it's really disappointing, and I know it's nothing to do with you, Karen, but if you could just keep us in the loop, and if there's anything that we could be doing as well as elected reps, putting pressure through our MLAs or whoever, just let us know, because it is a really important programme. The people who take part in it nearly see it as a lifeline, so anything that we can do.
Item number 8 is findings from the co-design social supermarket research engagement for a food support wraparound service model for the Derry City Strabane District Council area. Barry.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the purpose is to update you on the key findings from the independent research and engagement carried around the service. Members, you'll be aware of the previous reports presented on social supermarket programme, and DFC has been operating a pilot programme since October 17 with the main aim of tackling food poverty and its root causes. In addition to the social supermarkets, as a response to the pandemic, DFC supported a number of food support interventions in 20 21 include providing funding to councils in the last 3 financial years. And the councils have subsequently supported the C&V sector to develop localised interventions across the council area. There was some positive evaluation around the programme and the pilot, and there's been an approved approach to expand the concept to all council areas using a co-design process to develop tailored models that best meet the needs of local communities, and it builds on the existing structures and partnerships in each of the council areas. As part of the development of a model for the council area, DFC provided the 11 councils with funding allocation that you'll be aware of to carry out an independent review of the existing scheme and identifying a model going forward in the Derry City and Strabane District Council area. I'm not going into too much detail, members, it's all in your report, but in terms of the key issues, some of the key recommendations that emanate from the report, the optimal approach to providing a food and wraparound support service in Derry and Strabane is a combination of the 2 existing social supermarket hubs that currently operate in Strabane and Derry. And the findings, we've previously presented this in reports, members, highlighted a gap within the 3 rural DAs of the council area, and a pilot for the rural areas should include enhancing the capacity of one of the existing partners to facilitate outreach provision into the rural areas. In addition, as recommended, DA model based on existing structures is put in place to develop a consistent approach. Also, consideration should be given, especially in the rural areas, to more innovative approaches, such as online ordering or click and collect, or a refrigerated van which can travel between areas as a mobile shop. There needs to be clear communication and increased awareness to serve and widen the referral process, and also continuing engagement between DFC and council on the scheme through the existing co-design steering group needs to take place. So, members, in terms of the rest of the information, that's just a further bit of detail around all of those recommendations. But in terms of other implications, in section 4.2, you'll see the findings from the report has highlighted the big gap in the rural DA, and that's the one thing that comes out throughout the report. From a finance point of view, at present, the allocation of 120,000 funding for the 2 existing SSM, Strabane Community Project and Foyle Food Bank, is provided directly by DFC to those organisations. A separate allocation that goes to council via an upgrade on our community support letter of offer. That's been provided to the 11 delivery partners for the localised interventions. And this localised approach was put in place until a model for the council is fully agreed. DFC have indicated that if there's funding allocations to councils for 24-25 financial year through the CSP letter of offer, it will most likely be based on the same allocation for this year, which is 132,786 and 69 pence. The funding, members, is currently 100% funded by DFC. There is a slight concern that to implement the recommendations fully, the allocation of 132,786 is not sufficient, and a further report will be provided to members on the agreed steps as part of this transition process once all is agreed with the co-design steering group. So in terms of recommendations, members, that you note the contents of the report and that you approve officers to continue work with DFC and the co-design steering group to begin work on the transitioning process during 24-25 to take forward the recommendations presented in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that, Barry. Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Barry, for the report. You all know that I brought a motion in November for Derry and Strabane to become a right to food city. So this just really links into exactly what I was talking about, and about there's almost 400,000 people in this country who've experienced food poverty in the past year, and that's just terrifying. And in a way, it's good to see this, but in another way, it's terrible to see it that we need this. It's a much needed service, but it's really sad that we do need this service. I suppose just picking up on what you said there, Barry, about the co-design element of it and thinking about those rural DAAs. I think the co-design part's really important, that we're working really closely with the elected reps and the people who live in that area to make it work for them. So having an online click and collect might not work for some rural DAs because their broadband might not be good enough or whatever it might be. So making sure that we're getting the viewpoint of everybody that it's going to impact. I suppose I really wanted to welcome the report, and I'm happy to propose that we accept the recommendations for you to move forward with the DFC with the funding. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McDade. Alderman Hussey, online.
Thank you for the opportunity, Chair. As you know, I'm not a member of committee, but you will expect me to say I totally endorse and welcome the findings in 3.1. Further, the gap has been highlighted, and one of the recommendations from the report is to address the issue going forward. That will require resources, and yet we're told in 4.3 that the CSP letter of offer most likely to be based on the same allocation as 23-24. I think it has got to be emphasised. Working on 23-24 financial year, when we have identified a specific need that is within the rural community, and that has been emphasised by, I think, every single rural representative throughout council. So I'm trusting that that matter has been identified and will be addressed and actioned going forward. But welcome the recognition of the existing state. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that, Alderman Hussey. Councillor Boggs.
Very much, Chair, and also just to welcome the report as well. And I think at times myself and Alderman Hussey often find ourselves agreeing whenever it comes to issues within the rural DEAs. But I suppose whenever you look at the report, first of all, to commend the work particularly done by Strabane Community Project. The wraparound service that they offer is absolutely unbelievable in terms of ensuring people get support that they maybe didn't even realise that they needed. You know, they come looking for one thing and help even in relation to food poverty, but then also find services in terms of mental health and their physical health. So that's to be commended. But I also would just raise concerns similar to Councillor McDade and Alderman Hussey. You know, we're identifying it, as I think we did, and even the Hardship Fund Working Group, in relation to the fact that we find it very hard and difficult to get into rural DEAs, particularly Sperrin and Derg, and to provide the support that we know is needed in there, but just finding where it goes. So I suppose for me, in relation to how we make sure we're getting that support in before we even get to the stage of providing the support. I know it talks about an extra member of staff and a van to go around the constituency, but I think that van and that extra member of staff isn't going to have very much to do if we can't identify those people who need the support. So I think the co-design element is obviously very much needed, but it's ensuring that it works, because we have found in the past that when we try to identify those people in rural DEAs, we just can't get them and we can't reach them. And I think that was evident on the underspends across the DAs for the hardship support mummies. So, and also just to agree with Alderman Hussey that that's an extra piece of work that we're asking the service to provide, but we're also then just saying that the allocation has to remain the same. So it's more work. It is harder to reach on the rural DEAs. We're not saying anything new there, but at the same time, there's no extra money for it. So I would just err some caution in relation to that. But it's fantastic work that those organisations do. I hope that you want to say long may it continue, but at the same time, you would hope that these issues would lessen over a period of time in relation particularly to food poverty. But glad to see the report and happy for officers to work on. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Boggs. Councillor Barr.
Is that me, Chair, online? Yep.
Yes, apologies, Councillor Barr online.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to Barry for the report, and I'm happy to second the report also. And just like Councillor McDade says, it's very vital that the service is rolled out right across the rural DAs, especially as I know too well that I've been a councillor for the Sperrin, which is quite rural, and the amount of people that constantly contact myself or our office trying to reach food support, unfortunately, because it just doesn't quite extend there. They're not entitled to it. But just to say, look, that fully supportive of this going forward, and if any extra spend comes forward, I wouldn't shy away from having to make that decision to vote for it. The people in the rural areas are just as entitled to food support as they are in the towns and wider cities. So 100% backing that, and I have no doubt that if the extra work is given unto Ursula and Carol and the team down at Strabane Community Project, that they'll have no problem delivering that out to the rural areas across the Sperrin and Derg. So once again, thanks very much for the report. Looking forward to seeing things move forward on it quite soon, hopefully. Thank you.
Good. Councillor Barr. Alderman McNorris. Morris.
Thank you, Chair. I suppose I'm just concurring what everybody else has basically said. This is a really welcomed report, and it's good to see the co-design on it, the approach. Again, I just bring up about the rural. Do you know what I mean? I'm not rural, I'm urban, but I do understand. I deal with a lot of urban or rural people as well, so understand the plights that they have out there. Again, like Alderman Hussey had said, you know, there will be a concern about there's no uplift on the funding put towards us. And I'm just conscious, you know, if we're to roll this out effectively and the way it should be within the rural area, then it definitely needs uplifted for that reason, if not for anything else. You know, to put refrigerated fans, if that's an option or whatever, you know, the cost of that there could be astronomical. Do you know what I mean? And they should definitely be receiving the same services as what we do in the urban. And just, I suppose, from the whole point of view of this, you know, it's good that it's not just tackling food poverty, but it's actually tackling the reasons why we have food poverty. And that wraparound service is the most vital part of this here, you know, and I welcome it. And thank you for everybody.
Thank you, Alderman McMorris. No, and agree that there is, you know, it seems to be gaps in people in rural areas picking up on, you know, uptick on help and support that's there. So anything that would go to improve that, and you know, it has to be a positive step. Councillor Devine.
Thanks, Chair. Just to echo, I suppose, what Alderman Hussey has said and Alderman McMorris in terms of resources. I suppose it's a very different environment when you're delivering in a rural area, such a widespread geographical area, and the model that works in an urban area would not just translate into a rural area. And I suppose looking at one van or one resource to cover the whole geographic area, I just would question whether that is actually achievable or not. So really looking at the resources and making sure that we're basing it on need. And I suppose it was mentioned about a localised approach, and I think that's probably the way we would need to be looking at the matter. Definitely that wraparound service. We know the needs there, but we really have to acknowledge that delivering service in a rural area is a very different and needs a different model and a different approach, and that the funding needs to come with that as well.
Councillor Devine, and you know, I think you know the rural and rural elected reps know the area. You know, they've knocked the doors, they've canvassed, that they see the huge differences, like sometimes night and day between, you know, urban. I think that the point has been made by yourself and Alderman Hussey and Alderman McMorris, you know, and I think that needs to be factored in. That sort of information and expertise is invaluable when come to, you know, what, as you said, one size doesn't fit all. What may work in an urban scenario will not work in a rural. So thank you. Item number 9, advice services, quality control, audit uplift and advice providers, consolidated uplift for 2021 to 2022 and from 2022 to 2023. All right.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the purpose is to update you on our advice service programme quality control audit and to seek your approval of payment to the 3 advice providers for consolidated uplift provided by DFC for financial year 21-22 and 22-23. Members, just for information, the quality standard is specific to providers commissioned to give advice in the council area and focuses on the quality of advice given. And in order to ensure the quality advice standard are maintained, Council appoints an external independent consultant with specialist knowledge of generalist voluntary advice and advocacy to carry out the quality control audit on the funded providers. The last time this was done, members, was 2018, and once assessed, providers are given a quality mark of bronze, silver or gold standard. Providers who do not meet the bronze minimum standard cannot be a supplier to this council. At the time of the last assessment back in 2018, all existing providers are at gold standard. At present, Council fund 3 advice providers on a commissioning agreement basis which is to an agreed council-specific quality standard. As it's been over 5 years now since the last quality control audit was completed, it's essential that an audit is carried out. All 3 providers utilise the Advice Pro recording system to record the level of contacts and issues that providers deal with. Also, members, in terms of the second recommendation within the 23-24 letter of offer received from DFC for our community support programme, included as a specific financial allocation to advice services for an uplift for the 3 financial years, for the financial years 21, 22 and 22-23. This financial allocation has been carried forward into 23-24 financial year for payment to advice providers before 31st of March 2024, and you can see those amounts below for the 2 years in 3.5 and 3.6 members. So in terms of budgets, the budget available for the quality control audit is 7,500 members. We actually went to tender and we didn't get any returns, so we've updated members of the advice panel as of yesterday. We're going to get a select list and agree with procurement to try and get someone appointed in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So we will bring further reports back on that. In terms of the salary uplift, this is 100% funded by DFC. There's no additional financial implication to the council. And for the 2 financial years previously outlined, and we have this carried out by the 31st of March. So in terms of recommendations, members, that you note the contents of the report and approve appointment of an independent advice quality control consultant in line with our tender process and procurement guidelines, and that you approve payments to the following funded advice providers for the uplift for 21-22 and 22-23 financial years. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Barr, Lillian.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Barry, for the report. And on behalf of the SDLP, I just want to pay tribute to our local advice services for their outstanding work, especially during these challenging times. I happen to be now sharing a building with Advice and I see the kind of work that they do, the people flooding into their offices looking for support and help. So they play a critical role in supporting our communities. So really happy to endorse and propose the report. Just wanted to ask in terms of the tender, is it that the fee is low and that's why maybe you couldn't get anyone tendering, or is it a small span of time given? I'm just curious to understand why there was no tenders received.
For yourself, Chair, it's hard to answer that fully, but it's a very, very specialised piece of work, and there aren't a lot of suppliers out there. The last 2 times we did this, we had only 1 supplier, and it was the same person. They had indicated they were going to apply this time, and they didn't. So that person will be on any list going forward. But there was no discussion around it not being enough money or anything like that. No, we don't think it's anything to do with budget. It's a very, very specialised piece of work, and not everyone can do that type of work.
All right. Councillor Duffy, Sandra.
Chair. Thank you, Barry, for the report as well. I think in terms of the advice panel, we have had a lot of discussions around the work of the advice providers, and we were lucky enough to have an opportunity to sit down with the 3 providers and have discussions with them in relation to the challenges that they're facing, particularly around the retention of staff and how additional money is absolutely vital over and above what we're recommending here today. I have to concur with Councillor Barr in terms of the work that all 3 providers are doing. They are absolutely inundated over recent years. Probably COVID pandemic was the start of some of the hardest times that people were facing here, and we have seen that continue with the cost of living and the hardships that people are facing, the lost jobs, etc. And people are just being inundated within all 3 of these services. I do think that it's important for best practice that we do carry out the quality audit. I do think that it is important that people know that they are getting a quality service. I think that they are, but I always think that it's good to mark somebody else's homework or for somebody else to mark your homework to ensure that you are. I wanted, again, just pay tribute to the three services, Advice Northwest, Dove House and the Resource Centre Dairy for all the work that they have been doing. They have been going over and above. I do welcome as well, and I know it's not specifically mentioned in this report, but in some of the trial provider stuff that we have been talking about, because we know that there are other providers out there that have been doing a lot of work in the area of advice provision, and they equally need to be thanked for some of the work that they've been doing and picking up a lot of the slack that's out there, because there is just huge need at the minute. So I want to pay tribute to that. I hope that we do get an auditor to have a look at this, because I have no doubt that the three providers are still a gold standard, but I would just like to be assured of that going forward. So happy to second the proposals if they're not already seconded. So thank you, Barry, and thank you for all the work that has gone on to this.
Carmel, Sandra, Alderman McMorris.
Thank you, Chair. Probably a lot of what I was going to say has been said. Just to concur that we understand, just a declaration of interest. I'm actually sitting on Advice Northwest Board, so if that could be noted. But we do know the work that these organisations are carrying out and the pressures that they're under. And certainly I don't see any let up in that pressure, especially now with the migration of onto universal credit. They're going to be working harder than ever alongside of the cost of living crisis. So I just really welcome the fact that there is additional resources going into them, be it that it's only from previous years and it's not a recurring uplift, which is disappointing, I'm sure, and we would all love to see more money going into it, but unfortunately we are where we are. But in regards to the independent audit, Barry, I just think it is really, really important that we do write out to these people to see if we can get this bespoke specialist audit done, just for not only, it's good practice that we're making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, but it just also is a good learning experience for them to get feedback and maybe how they could be doing things better or smarter or whatever. But I just really welcome the report, and thank you.
Alderman McMorris, Councillor McDade, Catherine.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to declare an interest as a member of the board of the Resource Centre. I meant to do it at the start and then my hand went down.
Councillor Devine, Caroline.
Just to declare an interest, I'm on the board of Advice Northwest.
Carmel, and I suppose that whilst we're at it, Councillor Duffy.
Advice Northwest.
And myself, Advice Northwest and Dove House. Okay, now look, I think everything that needed to be said has been said. These people are at the coalface and dealing with some of the most vulnerable people in our community or in our society, and they can't be paid enough, in my opinion. And it is paltry what they're paid and the resources that's put into it. And it's unfortunate because, as has been pointed out, can be a high turnover in staff doing this job for different reasons and retaining staff. So again, I'd like to just add to what's been said and put on record my appreciation for the three organisations and the sterling work that they do. And as Councillor Duffy said, those who are not on that list, but who also carry out that work within a community. I think item number 10 is the Bishopsfield Sports Centre Shared Management Agreement, 1st of April 2024 to the 31st of March 2025. Barry.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the purpose of this is to seek your approval for an SMA to be enacted between Council and OLT for Bishopsfield Sports Centre. Members, you'll see in section 2.2 the motion that came into Council in January 2022 around management arrangement of Bishopsfield Sports Centre. In May last year, Council officers were contacted by OLT to discuss the possibility of the centre being utilised by the community at times when the centre is closed in order to maximise use. Members, you'll be aware that all council facilities are managed in accordance with 45,001 health and safety standards, and to enable the centre to be opened outside of the current operating hours with no council staff, it was agreed that an SMA would be required to be set up with the OLT and council for the sports centre. A series of meetings have taken place between council officers and reps from OLT over the last financial year to discuss this proposed shared management agreement. So just for a wee bit of background, all existing bookings for the facility and our staff are employed up there at Bishopsfield Sports Centre. The SMA with OLT will not have any impact on the existing bookings or on user groups of facility. The SMA outlines the hours of usage when the centre is available for use by the OLT, as part of the shared management agreement. So OLT would be responsible for the operation and management of a portion of the building, i.e. the sports hall, during the agreed and designated periods as specified in the shared management agreement in your appendices. And for all other periods outside of the aforementioned periods, council will be responsible for the operation and management of the facility. The adjoining 3G pitch, including the all-weather changing rooms, will remain responsibility of council at all times and will not form part of the shared management agreement. OLT have engaged and consulted widely with the Craig Community Forum on this proposal, and that is membership from the key youth, community sporting and local school groups in the Craig area. You'll see in section 3.5 members were suggesting, if approved, that we would commence this SMA on the 1st of April 24 to the 31st of March 25. During this time, the new arrangements will be monitored to ensure the smooth running and operation of the centre, and the SMA would be reviewed prior to the agreement coming to an end on the 31st of March 2025. At that time, consideration would be given by members to the extension of the current arrangements following this pilot transitional period. So with regards to financial, legal, HR and other issues, the existing council staff based at the centre will continue to manage the facility as normal in line with current operational hours of the building, and it will have no implications impact on the existing staff jobs at the centre. The OLT will be responsible for the facility during the times outlined within the shared management agreement. And in order to accurately reflect the relationship between both parties, the agreement has been formalised between the two organisations. Such an agreement is already employed, as members will be aware, to good effect at a number of council-owned, community-managed centres. While this one is slightly different, it also follows a similar model that we have at Waterside Shared Village that forms the basis of a future report. So members, in terms of the recommendation, that you note the content of the report and approve the shared management agreement with the Old Library Trust to take effect from the 1st of April 24 to the 31st of March 2025. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that, Barry. Councillor Heaney, Connor.
Thanks, Chair. Just to thank Barry for the report, and I am happy to propose the item.
Proposed by Councillor Heaney and seconded by Councillor Hutton. Alderman Hussey, is that you've your hand up online? Is that from the previous, or are you looking to come in?
Yeah, please, Chair.
Go ahead, Alderman Hussey.
Thank you again for the opportunity. Chair, 4.2 refers to the additional running costs. If a club or community group wanted to use a council facility elsewhere, should it be the Derg or Strabane or whatever, they pay for it. And I don't see any reference to any indication. The additional running costs are covered, but nothing to say anything with regard to additional income. I'm just wondering why that is the case. Thank you, Chair.
Through yourself, Chair. In line with our other shared management agreements that we have at community centres, or we would have at Waterside Shared Village, which is a combination of community and leisure, the suggestion is that any income, they would staff it and they would run it on the basis of the shared management agreement. None of that income outside of the opening hours would come to council. That would go to the Old Library Trust.
Chair, if you'll allow me a supplementary on that, I'm just wondering what other shared agreements are there in the council district, and does that mean to say that a council facility elsewhere, a community group such as a club, could come along and seek the same sort of arrangement? Is that correct? Thank you.
through yourself, Chair, we have the same arrangement at all our council-owned community managed centres. Now, the income would be minimal enough that community groups make in each of those centres, depending on the varying sizes of our centres. Yeah, in terms of other groups coming forward for something similar, if something comes through the chamber in the form of a motion, we'll scope it out and we'll apply the same logic and rigour to what we've done here. So we've done what was suggested in the motion. There was at one stage talk of that organisation taking over the entire running of the sports hall, but obviously we had staff and trade union issues, and we'd highlighted those to members in previous reports. So this is a further iteration of a partnership agreement between the two organisations on a pilot basis. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Chair. Appreciate the clarification.
Okay, Councillor McDade, Catherine.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Barry. I just want to welcome it. I think it's a great idea. I think it's we have a hall up there that's not been used for so much of the time, and our organisation are happy to come in and provide services to the community. So I think it's brilliant. The OLT, the services they provide, do not just the community in Craigan, but right across the area. People go to it, so I think it's very welcome. So I just want to welcome. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Councillor McDade. Item number 11, kennelling service for stray dogs. Seamus.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report, members, is to update you on the current dog kennelling service provided and seek members' approval for council to procure a service provider for this area of dog control. The report also outlines council statutory obligation to seize and detain stray dogs, the number of stray dogs impounded over recent years, and the report also provides an update on the previous lease agreement which council had entered into. Members, although this lease agreement has been terminated, council continues to operate the kennel facility and has carried out repairs to ensure the facility continues to comply with health and safety and animal welfare standards. And members, in light of the yearly reductions in stray dogs being collected and impounded, it's recommended that committee approve a tender exercise for the provision of kenneling for stray dogs impounded in the council area. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Seamus. Councillor Bard, Lillian.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Seamus, for the report. And I just want to say on behalf of our party to put on record our thanks for council officers, particularly for the fantastic work they did during the holidays, managing the Pennyban area dog kenneling. And I think it's testament to the partnership with many of the rehoming charities. And I also welcome the report that year on year, numbers of stray dogs are decreasing. I think it's also, it could be argued, is testament to community engagement and also the importance of raising awareness in promoting animal welfare within our city and district and responsible dog ownership. I know that during the holidays, my colleague Shona Kuzak visited the Pennyban industrial area, dog kenneling, and she was very impressed with the conditions of the place and how it's being managed and the standards which has been upheld. So I just wanted to say thank you for your sterling work and happy to propose the report.
Lynn, Alderman McMorris, Nairi.
Thank you, Chair. And Seamus, thank you for bringing this report forward. As you know, at the last meeting, whenever the issues in the dog kennel was highlighted, I was one of the ones that spoke out about it. Do you know what I mean? I just feel as if like we have to be the dog's voice, and times, especially when it was like ruining the public image of council within the kennel facilities. And I know you've been working with Deirdre, and also I just read from your report too that the animal welfare and also the Dogs Trust and all was going to be visiting and whatever. I'd just like to hear more about what the remedial work was and what their recommendations was, and if there's any further recommendations or further work is needed done within the dog pound. And one thing that was on your thing, that there's no statutory obligation for councils to accept unwanted dogs. And whilst I understand that, and I know you put on that the dog charities normally took up that work, but just in line to the fact that there is no dog charity now within the dog pound, what provision is council making for like strayed, unwanted dogs at the moment? I know you had kind of previously a 5-day rule, and the kind of charity of the dogs, their role was basically so that no dog would be destroyed, that they would be rehoming. So I just want to hear a wee bit more, Seamus, about how that is working at the minute, especially with your limited resources with staffing and the wide remit the council has, you know. So I would just like to hear a wee bit more about it.
Through you, Chair, I suppose the first question in terms of the works that have been carried out, the main focus had related to compliance with statutory health and safety and animal welfare legislation. To be fair, minor works were required in terms of carrying out repairs to damaged plaster in the kennels, and we reinstalled the heating and put oil in the system. We also would carry out some painting to the facility, and we do intend to carry out additional works and look at best practice going forward. It's probably important to note that it's a 22 kennel facility. We probably average in around 2 stray dogs per week, and we're taking into consideration having staff in that facility on a permanent basis to open, clean and close and deal with rehoming those stray dogs. So the tender exercise will give us an indication in terms of the viability and the best way forward. In relation to unwanted dogs, a report had previously been brought to committee seeking approval to not take unwanted dogs, and that was approved. So for a period of time prior to entering into that previous lease agreement, council hadn't been taking unwanted dogs. We will monitor that. There is that risk, as you rightly said, in terms of being an increase in that demand if the local animal rehoming facilities are unable to facilitate. But at this stage, that hasn't been the case, and we'll keep that under review.
Sorry, just one wee last question, Seamus, sorry. In regards to my comments last time, was there ever any communication with Pet FBI to kind of try and resolve the difficulties and issues, and certainly the image that they were portraying out there? Do you know, has that been ever resolved, Seamus? Just, you know, I would like to think that we're, you know, on a better note with them, and that basically the message that they were sending is certainly not the message they're still sending. And I'm happy to propose a recommendation as well.
Through you, Chair, following the reports in media prior to the previous committee meeting and full council meeting, we did reach out to Pet FBI and tried to speak to them over the telephone and via email, but unfortunately we haven't been able to resolve their issues and queries. There has been an FOA and there has been various media queries, but that's the way it is at the minute.
Thanks for that. Seamus, is there a seconder for the proposal? Councillor Duffy, Alex. Okay, number 12 is deputations update, and Karen's going to do this.
Members, I'm going to keep the input on the report.
Can I just say so proposed in relation to this item?
Quite content, members. And I suppose just to the rationale in terms of the grouping of the proposed 3 delegations, that they're all voluntary community sector. And we felt that might be an appropriate grouping. But should one not be available, we'll look to select another. Thank you.
Item number 13 is the progress report from the Health and Community Directorate Service Delivery Plan 2023-2024. Karen again.
So members, the report follows a corporate reporting process required in terms of the service delivery plan for the Health and Community Committee. Obviously, the report was, our service plan was approved earlier this year. This is the 6-monthly review point, and we just set out the relationship between the service plan report and the corporate plan, and again with regard to the strategic inclusive growth plan. You know from the review of the strategic inclusive growth plan that we have a number of prioritised outcomes for our directorate around health and wellbeing, community development, children and young people, and older people specifically. So it's an annual performance requirement of local government that we do update you at this particular point in the year, and we've used a covalent reporting process that you've probably seen within the strategic support services. So to note that we are online in terms of delivery. All actions that haven't yet been completed are in progress, and at the 6-monthly report we are 49% compliant with the activities therein. Our officers will be happy to give some further detail, members, if you required, but members asking you to note and comment on the performance delivery. Thank you.
And Karen, Councillor Heaney, Connor.
Thanks, Karen. It was really just to express a slight concern that so many of the progresses are at 50% or low. And just to ask the question, is there a reason for that? Is simply is that we're at the 6-month mark, and is that normal? And just further, like one that did strike me was just the children and young people, given that this council are trying to receive UNICEF child-friendly status for the city. So given that that's quite low, just is there any explanation for that?
No, generally speaking, you know, progress is in or around that sort of 50, maybe up to 60%. A lot of our actions are annual year output returns. So, for example, your annual leisure output, you know, your numbers of participants in particular, you know, initiatives and programs, and things, for example, like our children and young people, like our police and community safety partnership, like our good relations plans, are annual plans. So, depending just on the nature of when activity may happen, and that's sometimes dictated because it's seasonal or by nature of the target groups that we're actually looking to engage in programs. We don't, as the officer team, have any specific concern at the moment, but members happy, just in view of that, particularly in terms of children and young people, unless Barry wants to comment. You know, UNICEF is a really important outcome for us, you know, and a really valuable outcome in terms of the city and district. Happy to bring a specific report back into February's meeting, just as to where we are in terms of delivery of that specific plan.
Okay. Item number 14, open for information, license and orders issued under delegated authority. Seamus.
Chair, that item's mainly for information unless members want to raise any questions.
Happy enough. Item number 15, review of the Project Life 2 action plan. Seamus again.
Again, Chair, for information unless members have queries.
Councillor Hutton, Aisling.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Seamus. It's just to point out that I had attended the crisis intervention and the suicide prevention workshop today hosted by the Mental Health Champion, Siobhan O'Neill. There was a lot of reference made to the Protect the Life 2 strategy, and I just wanted to encourage us as council members and council staff, and particularly to the community and voluntary sector, to make use of these workshops. There's a lot of focus going to be put on this strategy in relation to how we upgrade our service provision, how we engage with young people and particularly people through lived experience, and making them our champions to have their voices heard. So it was just to point that out because it happened this morning. So if council do get notification of the workshops, if they could be distributed among members as well as council staff as well, because every sector needs to be speaking up in relation to the development of this. So thank you.
Item number 16 is an update on council motion community mental health survey. Seamus.
Chair, yeah, again, for information, just to update members in terms of the current status of that motion.
Okay, item 17 is correspondence. Karen?
Members, it's there for your information. If any queries, we'll follow up.
Okay, happy enough. And item number 18 is consultations. By Karen again. Councillor Heaney, Connor?
It's really just to ask, is there any intention of council to respond to these consultations? And if so, are we likely to see it before it goes, obviously?
Members, these we have listed for your consideration, and should you wish to respond, we as the officer team are happy to facilitate that because they're wider issues than necessarily those we directly deal as part of our service. We leave that as an option for members. If there's anything specific that you want us to take forward by means of drafting a response, certainly happy to do that.
Okay, content enough. Can we have a proposal to go into confidential? Councillor Duffy, Alex, second by Councillor McMorris, Nairi.